Welcome back for this introduction to the user interface of a typical iSEE app. In this video, we will open an iSEE app with a dataset already preloaded into it, so that we can focus purely on the interactive point-and-click interface presented to end users who come to simply explore the dataset without any programming knowledge required. Let's get right into it. End users can access iSEE apps directly in their web browser. Under entirely default settings, datasets loaded into the iSEE app are automatically parsed for standard information stored in SummarizedExperiment objects. Based on the information available and a set of 8 core panel types designed to display different pieces of information, iSEE automatically populates the interface with one panel of each type for which the relevant information is available. For instance, in this case, the interface contains all 8 core panel types, from top to bottom and left to right: a reduced dimension plot panel with a blue header, a raw data table panel with an orange header, a feature assay plot panel with a light green header, a column data plot panel with a red header, a raw data plot panel with a yellow header, a sample assay plot panel with a dark green header, a column data table with a dark fuchsia header, a complex heat map panel with a dark purple header. Each panel is designed to display a different piece of information stored in the object. We will go through the purpose of each panel in a different video. Once the panels are loaded, users are free to interact with the interface in any way they see fit. Leaving the icons in the top right corner of the navigation bar for another video, let's go to the first panel, the reduced dimension plot panel, to demonstrate some of the core user inputs in the iSEE user interface. Let's click on the Data Parameters collapsible box to reveal its content. This box contains user inputs controlling the types of data shown in the plot of the panel. By default, the plot shows the first dimensionality reduction result, in this instance PCA. I can click on the drop-down menu to reveal the full list of dimensionality reduction results available in the object and switch it to TSNE. The plot immediately updates in response to this change, showing the TSNE layout. Next, I can click on the data parameter box again to close it, and then click on the visual parameters box to reveal its contents in a similar way. Here, the contents are categorized to minimize the amount of user input displayed at any one time. In the color section, I can click on the color picker to choose a different color to apply to all points. Let's go with green. Coming back to the radio buttons above, I can also color points by metadata associated with each data point. In the bioconductor SummarizedExperiment, that is known as the column data, so I click on that option. Note that the color picker is now replaced by a drop-down menu listing metadata fields available in the R object. By default, the first field is used to color data points. In this case, it's a numeric value, as we can see from the scale of the figure legend. I can click on the drop-down menu and choose another field. Let's go with this one. Now, the figure legend clearly indicates that this is a categorical metadata, and the TSNE visualization even shows a nice separation of the 3 levels of that factor. Lastly, to complete this short tour of the panel interface, let's have a look at the selection parameters box. For clarity, I will close the visual parameters box before I open the selection parameters box. The selection parameters box contains user inputs controlling what to do with selections made in the iSEE app. So far, we haven't made any selection, so let's go over to the feature assay plot panel and click and drag to draw a selection around some of the data points. Next, let's come back to the reduced dimension plot panel and click on the drop-down menu to receive column selection from the feature assay plot where we've just drawn our selection. It's a little bit subtle, but we can see that the points selected in the other panel are now highlighted with a solid color, while unselected points are de-emphasized using a transparency effect. In fact, it is possible to hide the unselected points altogether by clicking the checkbox Restrict to Selected Columns. Note that the active selections and transmissions between panels are indicated by text element at the bottom of the relevant panels. Here, the reduced dimension plot panel clearly indicates that it receives its selection from the feature assay plot panel, while the feature assay plot panel itself indicates the number of data points selected and reminds us that it is sending that selection to the reduced dimension plot panel. Alright, so let's pause this tour of the iSEE app interface at this point, having explored some of the most common controls available to end users interacting with the app. In future videos, we will explore some of those controls in more depth, as well as learning how to change the default values of those controls, effectively starting up the app in different states. For now, I want to give you a chance to dive into the iSEE app interface yourselves. So this is goodbye, and I'll see you in the next video.